The roar of Earth can be unrelenting, especially when breaking free from it. Step inside a curious world where musicians and scientists blast spacecraft with noise, connecting concert to cosmos.
Hey there, I'm Bradley Hope, and we're in Baltimore at Maryland Sound International. Come on in and we'll show you what we do at MSI-DFAT. The original idea for DFAT, which stands for Direct Field Acoustic Testing, it's also known as Direct Field Acoustic Noise Testing, or DFAN, was thought of back in 1967. So just using loudspeaker-based technology to try to simulate the acoustic environment of the rocket launch. But it wasn't until 1998 when NASA approached Bob Goldstein here at Maryland Sound International, MSI, with the intent of actually performing the first DFAT.
I was here one day and somebody walked in and said, "I'd like to have a meeting with you." And it was a guy from the aerospace business, and he said, "Here's the needs that we have for replicating the sound of a launch. Can you do it?" And I'm a little crazy, and I said, "Sure," not having any idea if we could or not. And the first test was pretty brutal.
The speakers that they were using at the time were like concert speakers. They were not made for it. And so when they're like, "Ooh, let's go higher," and so it's 135 dB, 140 dB, then things start pop, 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 and a lot of smoke came out. And it's like, I think we broke something.
I think if we blew up about $1 million worth of equipment. And I went, okay, well, that was painful. How do we make this actually work? And so we started to experiment and came up with a system that could actually generate that kind of sound for a period of time.
Satellites commute to work as a violent affair, and they're expensive. So if anything breaks off during liftoff, it's going to cost people hundreds of millions of dollars. So they want to make sure that vibration and noise doesn't damage the device before it goes up. If it does, there's $100 million in the air that's useless, or $500 million.
So spacecraft are designed to launch, and during the launch, you want to get the weight down to a minimal level. So you're making a spacecraft and you're taking a lot of the structure out of it. And you model and you try to figure out what will survive the rigors of a launch. The launch is so loud that you can hear it miles away pretty loud. Damage your hearing, you'll never hear again if you were there without hearing protection. That kind of 145, 150 dB sustain. So the structure is really shaken pretty heavily, and you can damage a lot of things, solar panels, other things, connections, a lot of different things can happen.
At the beginning, so early on, to test for these extreme harsh conditions at launch, reverberant chambers were the standard. So they built these extremely large facilities.
They would have to bring their spacecraft to an acoustic chamber, which involves packing it up and transporting it, either via a truck, boat, plane, or whatever, and then moving the entire crew from their facility to the test facility, doing the test and bringing it back, which exposes the device to all kinds of environmental potential bad things.
So if anything happens, drunk driver, whatever happens, and there is transporting it, it falls, whatever happens, it might not be damaged, but you have to go back to your lab and make sure that everything is done. So you cannot fly. It's like, oops, you fell, let's go back. No, you have to go back and redo the whole check, and then go back. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time.
Instead of shipping a spacecraft miles away to a reverb chamber, our crew of roadies load up our trucks with all the equipment, all the sound equipment, and we show up directly on site or wherever a customer wants us to show up. And we typically set up the system within a day or two. We do a quick simulator run, a practice run to check and make sure that everything is working properly. And then they'll open up this circle, just like this half circle that you see behind me, load in the spacecraft and conduct the actual test in just 1 day of downtime on the spacecraft. Different types of sound waves can be generated from our noise generation system. Typically, there are a mix of different types of sine waves that combine and create the overall mission profile. So it might sound sort of like white noise, or a combination of white noise, pink noise coming through the speakers. It's so much acoustic energy that it would break a normal microphone. So it's 1 day of downtime. of testing, and then our crew loads out, and they do this again and again.
One of the most difficult things with DFAT is, unlike concerts, you're usually working in a venue not made for what you're doing. DFAT, we're going in places that were made for high bays, made for like moves on the spacecraft, made for loading it into a trailer to move it to where it's going to be launched. A room made for doing vibration testing, or a room made for doing various tests on a spacecraft. Not a room made for setting up 25 plus foot tall speaker stacks. So a lot of times we're dealing with very tight spaces. We use a lot of the same things that you'd see in a concert. We have a lot of the same positions, which is front of house, we have microphones, and we have PA. And they all interface in the exact same ways you'd see in a concert, except we don't have an audience, and we don't have a band, and we don't have a performer.
Nobody claps at the end of an acoustic test. And like, as a monitor engineer, you're doing musicians say, I want like a little more of that, a little more of that. Whereas the aerospace guys say, we need 0.2 of a dB more at 125 hertz. And you only here, but not over there. Can you do that? So those are different requirements. You know, it's like mixing monitors for aerospace is a lot different.
Trying to pump out as much noise as the satellite requires to, you know, essentially, if we do everything right, maybe we can get it to break. And if they do everything right on the manufacturing side of the satellite, it won't break. So
our goal is to break it. Their goal is for it not to break. And I think that's a good goal from both sides.
It's a pretty cool feeling when you get one to break, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty neat.
When they come in and they're like, oh, hey, something's wrong. And we're like, okay.
Cool. Go fix it.
I don't know. I would think it's pretty crazy to try and, you know, break satellites with sound. That sounds like sounds like something you'd read in a book, I think.
Going from Pink Floyd to NASA, all I can say is they're both interesting customers. They have very specific requirements. They're demanding. And the only thing I can say is that the spacecraft is a pleasure. It never complains. Gilmore, Nick Mason, Rick, they're great guys. It was an amazing sounding tour. And all I can say is that when they did Run Like Hell, the last song of the show, it was all stop. It's like, if you want to go to 10, this is 12 or 13. It's ridiculous. It was the loudest, cleanest, most impactful show I've ever seen. And that song was just like, it was killer. I get goosebumps thinking about that.
The loudest concert I've ever been to, I saw Jack White. I don't know what the dB was, but I remember my ears hurting for about 5 days after. And I don't know what they were doing, but it was so loud. It was crazy. Sounded great, but yeah, still nothing compared to what we've done. Like, getting a blast from this system accidentally versus going to a concert, still, I'd go to a loud concert any day of the week than getting blasted by this. This is just disorienting.
Oh yeah.
Like this, when this is like goes off or this is loud, it's disorienting. It's a different feeling. With a loud concert, like, you're just like, wow, that's loud. But when this happens, it won't just mess with your ears, it'll mess with your head.
Yeah.
So it's a weird feeling.
Like,
It messes with your organs, it messes with your head.
you know, we've run some low volume stuff here at the shop in the low 130s. You put on double hearing protection, and you can actually go and stand not in the circle, but right on the edge of it on the outside. And I mean, you feel it in your teeth, you feel it in your toes and your bones.
Vibrating my feelings.
Some of these frequencies at such an intensity level that it'll make you feel physically ill. It's just not fun at all.
Then we have a woodshop guy who lead his lunch next to one of the subwoofers, and we're just like, what is wrong?
He's deaf.
It's pretty weird, you know, I started as a musician and kind of fell into music and audio production as a, I hate to say it, the backup plan that most musicians have. This just caught my interest because it's like, whoa, this is completely different, and it kind of gave me the joy of playing music back again, just because it was, it kind of separated the two parts of my life, like being able to play music, but also being able to do something that involved sound that was so just out there and different from everything else I was doing. But also did this thing that kind of felt like I'm doing something that's doing something greater, and especially when you work on missions that are manned missions and that okay, somewhere something I'm doing could be helping something.
So we tested parts of the James Webb Space Telescope. We tested the Nancy Grace Roman telescope, which, what that does for science. And I understand that they just saw that the universe is slowing down. The expansion of the universe is slowing, which means we may not just disappear one day. That's actually a good thing. And also from the James Webb Space Telescope, they just found that it's now hypothesized that we may be in a black hole, that the universe is actually in a black hole. And so outside of the black hole is something much greater which we won't see. It's pretty cool, don't you think? So you always wonder what's in a black hole? Maybe we're in a black hole. And I like that idea.